Welcome back to the final installment of Crash Course in Medieval Armor, and today we are covering the furthest extremities, the hands and the feet. Hand armor went through many iterations from leather gloves to full plate gauntlets. Mail mittens were a cheap and effective option, as were demi-gauntlets, which protected the wrist and the back of the hand while leaving the fingers free. The mitten style was very easy to manufacture, and a lot of plate gauntlets followed that form as well. One great historical example was the Almain Rivet Gauntlet. Almain Rivet armor was an early example of mass-produced armor for professional armies. They were relatively low quality, but they allowed you to arm a large number of people at a low cost. The gauntlets that came with these suits were made with sliding rivets that held each plate captive while still allowing it to move. One of the best preserved examples is a pair of Almain rivet gauntlets made for Emperor Maximilian I of the Holy Roman Empire. The hourglass gauntlet style had a flared flange which allowed it to fit snug around the wrist and still deflect strikes. The Gothic gauntlet was fluted to make the steel stronger while still keeping it light and thin. My favorite style though is the Laken gauntlet, which had a mechanical catch pin system which locked the hand shut around a weapon so that it would be almost impossible to disarm the wearer. It was actually so effective that it was banned in many tournaments because it was considered unfair and therefore unchivalrous. The bridle gauntlet was somewhat similar, and it was made for the left hand. It was essentially a rigid cuff designed to do nothing more than hold onto a horse's reins, so it articulated very little, if at all. Foot armor became pretty specialized as well. The Gothic style had long points at the ends. My first thought looking at these for the first time as a kid is that they were probably designed to kick people in the chest while riding a horse. The truth is, though, that this was just another example of armor following fashion conventions. The Gothic sabatons emulated the Polaine style of shoes, which had long pointed toes. It was mainly meant to mimic high fashion of the era as sort of a status symbol, but I like to think that someone kicked a dude with him at least once. Funny enough, these long toe points were actually detachable. As you can probably imagine, it was very difficult to walk or run in them, so if a knight had to dismount and fight on foot, he'd take off his little toe caps first. Milanese sabatons were a bit more practical. They had rounded toes, which eventually developed into the duckbill sabaton style. The wide base helped keep the knights stable while fighting on foot. And so both of these forms of armor for hands and feet, which started as leather gloves and leather shoes, developed into fully articulated plate, which kept the knight safe and mobile.